Hello, we are here today in conversation with Louise, who is Senior Professor in Sociology and Director of the Global Diversities and Inequalities Research Centre in London Metropolitan University. My name is Maria Lopez. I'm Reader in Sociology and Deputy Director of the Centre. Hello, Louise. Welcome to today's conversation. So, Louise, can you please tell us a bit more about yourself and how you've got to where you are today?
Well, thanks very much, Maria. And it's very nice to have this opportunity to say a bit and to reflect on my career. So I've been a full-time academic now for about 25 years. So I'm reflecting back on over 2 decades of work. And I suppose I've been very lucky, really, that I've had the opportunity to do research on migration in the field of sociology, which is absolutely my great passion. As a migrant myself, I feel very committed to the topic of migration. As we know, migration is always a controversial topic, constantly in the news. So it's never boring. There's always something new to be said about migration.
You were recently listed in the top 2% most referenced academics globally. Is this a goal that you've actually pursued, or do you just found out of the blue?
Well, it's very gratifying. It's very humbling to have been listed in the top 2% of scholars cited in the world. I mean, it's phenomenal even to think about it. I worked really hard over the last 25 years. I publish a lot and I take writing very seriously. So I write constantly. I'm always writing. I've always got articles on the go. I've published over 60 articles and I think about 10 books. So it's based on a massive body of work that I've accumulated over the years. But it's also something I enjoy. And I remember when I finished my PhD in Ireland, in University College Cork, I was so passionate about getting my research out there. I did the PhD and I really wanted people to know about it. I had done this work. I'd spent 3 years doing this work. And I wanted to publish, I wanted people to read. So I suppose that's been a motivating factor for me in my career, is not to do research just for the sake of it, but to do research that then gets out there into the world. And that would be my advice to any young scholar now starting out. It's about publishing, but then it's also about making sure that your work is read.
What are the big challenges you encounter when doing your research, and how did you manage to cope with them?
One of the biggest challenges now in the current landscape is funding. It is so difficult to get research funding. So what I've done in a recent project was, rather than going down the usual route and going to the usual UKRI, ESRC, AHRC, the main funders for social science research in the UK, I went down a different route. I went to the charity sector. I went to various community organisations and stakeholders, and eventually I went to a government source to do a piece of research, which is an oral history of migrant nurses working in the NHS. And as we know, the NHS was built on migrant labour. We can see now the massive shortages in the NHS post-Brexit. So I really wanted to do this project.
Louise, how does your research align with London Metropolitan University's mission?
One of the things that attracted me to London Met, I came from the University of Sheffield, was that I felt my research aligned perfectly with the mission and the principles and the ethics of London Met, which is all about social justice, tackling inequality. And my research on migration, working with migrants and refugees, is absolutely about groups who are highly stigmatised, problematised, marginalised and stereotyped in society. This, I think, is why London Met is such a good fit for the kind of research that I do. And there was a need, because these researchers were scattered across the whole university, to create a cohesion, to bring these colleagues together into a hub. Our first target really was to try to create a space where researchers, including PhD students, could come together to present their work, to share their research interests with other colleagues. And we've done that through an immensely successful seminar series.
Absolutely. So talking about years ahead, tell us about your projects now, the ones that you are involved in at the minute. Tell us a bit about them.
Okay, so I have got two projects that I'm currently working on. One is an oral history of Irish nurses who were recruited to work in the NHS from the inception of the NHS in 1948 onwards. And it ties in very nicely with London Met, actually, because London Met has a long association with Irish studies. London Met, in fact, was a pioneer of Irish studies back when Mary Hickman used to work here, and she was the founder of Irish Studies at London Met. And so the archive of the Irish in Britain is actually based here at London Met, which perhaps people aren't aware of. So there's a wonderful tie-in there with my project, because at the end of the research, we are going to be archiving the transcripts of the nurses in the Irish in Britain archive here at the university. And so that's a wonderful legacy as well for the project and for the fantastic contribution that Irish nurses made in their tens of thousands to the NHS over the last 75 years. The other project I'm working on with yourself is about Afghan migrants and refugees in London, where we were looking particularly at the experiences of those Afghans who were evacuated from Kabul airport in August 2021. But we've just received funding from Islington Council, where we will be doing a further 18 months of research looking at the experiences of Afghan refugees who have been resettled in the London Borough of Islington, following them up over 18 months. It's a wonderful opportunity for us to understand how they are adapting to British society, what challenges they are encountering as they're living here in this very local area, in this borough, and what support they're getting both from Afghan associations, but also from Islington Council, but from people within the community, within the neighbourhood as well. So that's a very exciting new project which we just found out about recently.
Okay, so thank you very much, Louise, for this conversation and for having gone through all your career and all your plans for the future and explaining a bit about the centre, the Global Diversities Centre in London Met. And congratulations again for your achievement as one of the most cited academics in the world, and certainly in London Met. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my pleasure.